Hello! So I'm doing this video for a friend because they just graduated from high school and they're about to enter college abroad as a freshman, and they wanted some tips on how to get through the first year of college. So their questions are how not to procrastinate, how not to worry your parents as a student being alone in a new city abroad, how to keep in touch with parents but keep a safe distance so you don't become too homesick or too dependent on your parents, and just general college tips and what to do in college and what not to do. So let's start with the first question, how not to procrastinate. First, you need to get a Pomodoro Timer. I will put a description in the description box below if you don't know what that is, but it really does help. Let's see, what worked for me is 2 weeks before final exams, I made a study schedule, and that study schedule consisted of things like waking up at certain times, what I do after that, what I would study, lunch, dinner, classes, and if your school requires it, volunteer work or something like that. I would recommend doing something like a schedule so you have a general outline of what needs to be done, and it really does depend on what subjects you're studying, what subjects you're better at, what subjects you're not as good at. I would recommend spending more time on the subjects you're not good at, but don't get too cocky, because for the subjects you are good at, even if you're good at it naturally, I would never recommend not spending any time on those subjects, because for all you know, the exam or test could be really hard and you might just end up flunking it, which is never good. So that's about it for how not to procrastinate. So to sum it up, get a Pomodoro Timer if you don't already have one, and create a general outline of a study schedule / work schedule with the times that you have to go to class or when you're busy blocked out. Yeah, that's what I have so far. So how not to worry your parents as a student being in a new city all alone, assuming you don't have any relatives around. What worked for me is I worked hard to make new friends, and well, what I did was I got my friend's phone number. I asked if they were okay with having their phone number as kind of a emergency contact number for my parents, just in case something happened to me, and they were okay with it because, well, you just want to be there for people sometimes when they need you. So that worked for me. And then some other advice I have is to keep in frequent contact with your parents and family for the first time period. So maybe for you it's a month and a half, first 2 weeks, just to show that you're okay and that nothing's wrong, you can take care of yourself, everything's going fine. And don't forget to go to your family whenever you have any problems, if your academic advisor can't help you or if friends can't help you, that kind of thing, because your family does know you very well. They've grown up with you for the past however old you are when you're going to college, that number of years. But I would recommend after a certain time, you can decrease the amount of contact with your family if you don't want to become too homesick. Well, if you don't want to become too homesick, but you still want to keep in frequent contact with your parents, what I suggest is you make a couple of friends or a lot of friends, but keep one or two really good friends or best friends. Just hang out with them a lot, and do your work, hang out with your friends, contact your family. And with that schedule, I really don't think there's gonna be any time to be homesick. So basically, just keep yourself busy if you don't want to be homesick, and don't give yourself a chance to think about how much you miss your family, or how much you can't survive without them, that kind of thing. Just don't give yourself any time to think about that. And general college tips. If you have any problems with classes, signing up for classes, organizing classes, or if you want to switch out of a class and into another, or you just need advice with something, I would recommend going to your academic advisor. They should be the first person you turn to if you need help. But if they're not available, you could go to people in your university that are older. If they're your friends, you can ask them. You can ask your professors if you guys are friends or close enough to talk about this kind of stuff. But the first person you should turn to should be your academic advisor, because it is their job to help you with this kind of stuff. So yeah. What not to do? One thing that really does spring to my mind is don't stray too much from being who you really are. You can I know it's scary going to a new place, a new city, or for some people a whole new continent with no people they know around. But if you have some really bad traits that gave you problems in the past, you can get rid of them, or you can just pretend they've never been there. But I would recommend not getting rid of too many, because you are making a change to your personality, and that is a pretty drastic change. So don't stray from your original personality too much. You can get rid of some traits that you don't like, or add in traits that you do like and you've wished you've always had. But just in general, overall, be true to yourself and don't create a whole new person you can't deal with being for months at a time. So that concludes my very first video. I hope you liked the video, and I hoped I helped you too. Bye!